So as I said at the top of the show, I have Cedric Theys here in the studio with me. Welcome, Cedric.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, no problem. So I did say the last time that we were talking, when you have your new album come along, we'll play some tracks. We can talk about the album. And here it is. You have released this album on your own record label. Do you want to tell us a bit about it, what it's called and what your record label's called?
So the album is called Sirius, Sirius. It's after the brightest star in our skies. And we can go into all of that a little bit later.
Okay.
And the record label is Mad Ducks Records. It's a label I put together back in 99 or 2000 or so when I first released my first album with a band. We decided to do it right and have our own record label. And so it was that this new record with my brother was released on April 26th, so about 3 weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah, it's Albin and Cedric Theys. So how does that relationship work with your brother with respect to writing and recording tracks?
Well, I mean, today with the Dropboxes and the WeTransfer and all of that stuff, there's so much you can do, and we use Skype to discuss the album, emails, etc. And we did an album as a duo back in 2007. So it's been a while. We've worked on other projects separately and also together. More for myself, more as a producer of one of his albums, but for this one we decided, hey, it's been a while, so let's try to do something.
Okay.
And honestly, today with the internet, it's just sending files is really, really easy. I don't think in 2007 we would have been able to do it that easily.
Right. And what instrument are you playing, and what is he playing?
So I am actually playing only one instrument. Playing a touch guitar. It's a U8 Deluxe by Touch Guitars. They're in Germany, and so it's a touch instrument, kind of like the Chapman stick. And I play all of the ambient stuff, the bass, the guitars, etc., all on that one instrument. My brother, on the other hand, plays a lot of different instruments. He's playing drums, but he's playing a lot of percussion instruments, a lot of tuned percussion, shakers, all sorts of shakers and kind of I guess exotic instruments. Right. And he's also doing a lot of all of the programming, beat programming, and glitches and all of that. Is
he making his own instruments, or is he buying those?
No, he just wherever he goes, he finds different instruments that are very local. He tries to figure out how to use them, how to play them.
Right.
And he has a rammer drum also. That's kind of a, I don't know if you've seen those videos. They have like that kind of like a flying saucer kind of percussion instrument.
Okay.
And it's in the same family.
Okay. Excellent. So tell us what kind of sound were you looking for on this album?
So that's an excellent question. I'm always a little bit on the fence to say what sound it is before you hear it, because I like to know what the people hearing it, what they think. But it's electronic for sure. The track started with ambient tracks, so you'll hear a little bit of that, and then fairly deeply electronic was a good amount of percussion.
Right. Okay. We're going to kick off listening to a track from this excellent album. The album's called Sirius. We're going to play the opening track here on Fade to Yellow on Co-op 91.7 FM, and we're also streaming at koop.org. This is the opening track called Mirzam. You're listening to Fade to Yellow here on Co-op 91.7 FM, and we're also streaming at koop.org. That was a track called Mirzam. from Alban and Cedric Theys from the album Sirius. And I have Cedric Theys here in the studio this evening. We're going to be talking about this album. Do you want to tell us a bit about that track, Cedric?
Sure, yeah. So I was saying earlier on the show that there's my brother's playing a lot of percussion, and this track you can clearly tell how much he's playing with all the, especially towards the end, you really hear all those different various percussion. There's a Chinese cymbal kind of thing that he does towards the middle of the song also. Right. That's really cool. And this track is actually so all the tracks were based on ambient pieces that I had done live or just at home and just practicing and keeping all of this recorded. Probably sent about 30 tracks to my brother. So he had to deal with listening to all of that. Poor guy.
Okay.
and we picked. He kind of picked. I told him, just pick what kind of talks to you and where you feel you could add stuff. And I'm okay with editing the ambient the soundscapes, or just keeping them as they are. And actually, out of the 6 tracks. They're long tracks, so but out of the 6 tracks, this is probably the only one that's actually heavily edited, because this came from a 20-minute soundscape I did, and I had a very specific thing that motif at the beginning of the guitars,
right?
And I wanted to focus on that, so I basically learned all the different parts from that soundscape. We re-recorded that, and then my brother edited it in the way he wanted. Fairly close to the original,
right?
But it was clean, and he needed something that had time, because he was going to add drums and percussion and things like that. So he needed to figure out, okay, what yes, it's ambient, but
right,
what beat do I want to put on that? So that's kind of the story behind this one. This first track on the album.
It's a great opening track, I must admit. I mean, when I heard it, I was like, wow, this is really good. And I said that to you when I met you tonight. I thought the first track was just outstanding.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So what's the writing process? I mean, you said you had these tracks for quite a while. So how do you go about writing?
So the writing process, as I said, I had all those ambient tracks, and I picked some that I thought had a good consistency, a good sound, send those to him. And then he kind of started picking the ones that he really liked. So the responsibility was on him to pick and start figuring out which tracks were going to be part of an album. Okay. And then the writing process is he started figuring out what he wanted, drums, percussion, whatever it was, and then he would send the tracks back to me and be like, okay, do you want to add anything? So on this track, I added probably some bass here and there. Right. The outro solo that's actually completely original from the soundscape that I had done. It's not re-recorded in any way. But a lot of the tracks, that's what happened. It was like basically, okay, he worked on drums, percussion, glitches, and all that good stuff.
Oh, the electronic treatments.
Yeah, the electronic treatments. Then send it to me. I would mix it. And be like, hey, hold on, I want to add a little something here or there. Okay. And then be like, okay, do we like it? Yes, no. Okay. And then keep going like that.
So how long would that process take for one track? Are you passing it back and forward?
Yeah, so we didn't necessarily focus on just one track at a time. But we probably started talking about this album at least 2 years ago.
Okay. Because he's based in Belgium, right? And
yeah, he's in Brussels and I'm here in Austin.
Right.
So I did go to Europe back last June, but the album was already pretty well finished by that time. Okay. So everything we've done was all, Skype, telephone, right, email, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And that's just the part of the way that you guys work when you're doing an album. It's long distance and it takes a bit of time to do.
Yeah. And there's actually, I think, a lot of music that's done like that. It's not done locally or in a studio live anymore. It's done like, okay, well, I've got this person there and this person there. I like what they do. I want to have them collaborate, add their touch and stuff like that, and you just send files. So we both used Ableton, and I use Pro Tools to mix and kind of edit and get it sounding good.
And you never bring anyone else to record part of a track, say like, I don't know, Pat Mastaloro or someone like that?
So I thought about that. I mean, not for this record specifically, because this was really the idea, or that the original idea was like, okay, let's both of us do something together again, because it's been a long time.
Right.
And usually I end up mixing and doing all of that. I usually send it to another person to master, just to get that, a third ear actually to listen to it and give their opinion. But this time around, the person I was sending it to for mastering actually called me up and said, well, I like to actually mix it also, because I'm hearing this, it's great, and I think it's the record that's gonna bring you guys to the next level.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. In 20 years I've been doing music, nobody's ever...
I hear you thought you were at the top level already.
Yeah, that too. But what I meant is nobody actually ever... They heard the music, but they're like, it kind of felt like, I don't want to touch this or something like that. And in this case, so it's Adrian Benavides, who's... he tours a lot he's done drum tech, he's done backline, he's done a lot of stuff for other bands. But he started here in Austin. He worked with Pat Mastaloro.
Okay.
He worked with Markus Reuter in Germany as well. The more recent stuff he's done that people might know about is he mixed Komara, which is a Pat Mastaloro project. And he mixed a couple tracks, I think, on the last Orc album, which has Pat Mastaloro on it, but also Colin Edwin from Porcupine Tree, and a couple Italians on that band.
Right, excellent. So that's a nice bit of validation, I guess. Him doing that. And
absolutely.
Like, yes, someone's actually taking notice and want to take the time to go do something slightly different with it, maybe. Yeah,
exactly. He put his sound on it. But at the same time respecting, what was given to him. It was a great, really, really great working with him. I don't want someone that's silent in the process,
right?
But I don't want someone who's completely changing what I've done also,
right?
And so it was great collaboration. The three of us was really, 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 really enjoyable.
Excellent. You're listening to Fate Yellow here on Co-op 91.7 FM, and we're also streaming at koop.org. My name is DJ Progscot. I'm here with Cedric Theys talking about the album that he has just released with his brother Alban called Sirius. We're going to listen to another track here. This is the third track on the album. This is called Wezen. You're listening to KOOP 91.7 FM, and we're also streaming online at koop.org. You just heard the track from Alban and Cedric Theys called Wezen. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. If not, Cedric will be able to set that to right. The album is called Sirius. It's just been released on Mad Duck Records, and Cedric is here in the studio. Hi there.
I'm still here, indeed.
You're still here. Okay, do you want to tell us a bit about that track?
Sure. So, yeah, I'm assuming it's Wezen or Wezen.
Wezen, yeah, it could be, yeah.
It's so all the tracks, the 6 tracks, have star names. They're part of the star system that has Sirius as the main star.
Okay.
And so it's the constellation of the dog, and there's some of the most the brightest stars in our system. I know everybody thinks it's the North Star is the brightest, but actually North Star is like the 50th brightest, and Sirius is the brightest. Anyway,
Okay.
so a little bit of.
Are you a stargazer?
I'm not, but I've become after doing this album.
Okay.
Because so yeah, to continue with that, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to call the album, and both my brother and I really like concept albums and things like that.
Okay.
And so because we're on each side of the Atlantic, he's in Brussels, I'm in Austin, we're like, okay, maybe we can do something about traveling or boats or something like that. And then he started looking into Sirius, found out that the constellation has 7 stars, which number 1 is Sirius, and then you have 6 others, and it's like perfect. We have 6 tracks. We have an album title that has 7 stars. It works, and plus it's stars that are used by travelers and sailors and all of that to figure out where they're going.
Okay.
So it worked out really well. Vezin is absolutely not, the soundscape is actually not edited at all. So that's the way it came out when I played it. And all of the soundscape I play are improvised.
Is that on the touch guitar?
On the touch guitar, absolutely. Okay. So it's touch guitar through effects and then Ableton. And then so that track, the soundscape that you hear at the beginning and at the end, all that kind of synthesizer stuff is actually done on touch guitar. And then my brother added all the beats, percussion, and all of those kind of. It sounds like drums, but not really, and it's just because he recorded drums and then put it through Ableton and did a lot of, treatment and things like that.
Right.
And then there's some very cinematic and touches that Adrian, who mixed the album, kind of added. He didn't add them per se because it's all based on what we recorded and what we gave him, but he added the effects like the reverbs and the echoing and things like that to get to how it sounds. Yeah,
because definitely halfway through that track, it's very dramatic.
Yeah, it kind of stops and then suddenly boom, it starts
it's
again.
like, oh yeah, someone's chasing me here.
Yeah, when I heard that, I was like, oh man, this is beautiful.
Yeah, it's just such a fantastic track. So when you're writing music or recording music, do you ever have plans to be able to play the music live?
So I'd love to play the music live. It's difficult to find the musicians who can take the time to obviously learn the music.
Okay.
As you can probably tell, it's not very common music. There's a fair amount of changes in the meter and the type of sounds and things like that. I'd love to play it live. I think something like this would probably need a quartet, maybe quintet, to really get it its full potential. Right now, there's no live band for that.
Right. Have you ever performed live with your brother?
I have when we were in our first band, 4 Element, back when we were teenagers in early 20s in Houston. We played quite a bit, and it was progressive, kind of sometimes hard rock, metal. There was singing, which this is all instrumental. Okay. And it was a quartet at the time, yeah. So back in 99, 2000, 2001 or so.
Okay. So there's no chance that he would come over here and you would be able to perform live?
Probably not. If anything, I would go over there and perform it live in Europe. But again, it's finding the musicians that are ready to take the time. And I have the time also because the finances is a whole other thing.
And you have a coffee shop in town. Are you guys playing it on the
I haven't played that one. I probably will one of these days. But I've played some of the stuff I've released on Mad Ducks Records on my label. I've played it.
Right. And do you have those CDs for sale in the shop?
Absolutely. Yeah. Those CDs are there.
That is excellent.
In the shop, for
cool.
sale.
Excellent. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about social media. Are you using like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and?
So mostly Facebook and Instagram. I've got a Twitter account. I probably don't do enough of what I should do on Twitter, so I'm trying to focus mostly on Facebook and Instagram. I think Google Plus doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It changes so much.
I think Google decided to close it down
right.
Maybe a month ago or so. But the album is available for streaming on Bandcamp.
Okay, and the Bandcamp address.
So the Bandcamp address is store.mattducksrecords.com.
Okay. And you can go, and there are other albums on there as well that people can go listen to and stream. And
there's probably about 20 albums on there. There's obviously all of the soundscape stuff I've done in the past few years. There's the first album I did with my brother back in 2007, which is regeneration,
okay,
kind of thing. And there's also the Four Element, the two albums we had, and the album he did in France with his he had a jazz quartet back in, I think it was released in 2014 or 2015 or something like that.
Right. Okay. Let's play a couple of station announcements, and then we'll come back in and talk about what the future holds for you guys and if you're planning any other releases. You're listening to Fate Yellow here on Co-op 91.7 FM, and we're also streaming at koop.org. I'm joining the studio here with Cedric Theys, just released an album with his brother Alban. It's called Sirius. It's on Mad Ducks Records. So what does the future hold for you guys, and are you planning any other album releases?
Yeah, there's a lot of talks about doing another one already. Fortunately, there won't be any shows for this one. It's not necessarily something that we had in mind anyway when we started this project, but we're talking about possibly a follow-up to the album we did in 2007.
Okay.
To kind of continue with that concept, or maybe just do something different with a different concept. And then he has a few projects of his own, and I've got 2 or 3 projects that I've already have the music written for, and I just need to get it recorded and played and then released. So
right.
Next couple of years, I've got already music for the next couple of years.
So you're pretty busy doing this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been I've been composing a lot. With the help of computer, Pro Tools or different softwares, and it's been very fruitful.
Excellent.
So I'm continuing in that vein.
Excellent. We're going to listen to another track. This will be the third and final track we've listened to from the album series. We're going to play the track Aludra. KOOP HD1 HD3 Hornsby, and then at the end of that track we'll come in and have a brief chat about this track Aludra, which I believe is the last track on the album.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. This is Alban and Cedric Theys, Aludra. You're listening to Fate Yellow here on Co-op 91.7 FM, and we're also streaming at koop.org. That last track called Aludra from the album series from Alban and Cedric Theys. And Cedric is here in the studio. Maybe you've been listening earlier on. We've been talking about some of the tracks and the recording process and long distance writing and mixing and all good stuff. So Cedric, tell us a bit about this track.
So this track, it's the last one on the album, and one of the things that makes it a bit different from the others is it really has that last part of the piece is just the soundscape stuff that I did separately. My brother decided not to add anything on that because he thought it didn't need to, and so it has actually some motifs that I've been playing around with, improvising with, like the first motif at the beginning of the track, and that last part is kind of came magically, I guess, if we can say that,
Right.
by itself while improvising. And I was telling our DJ tonight that I need to learn it and actually play it live because I really like that part. But my brother on there at the beginning, he's playing so many different things. He's playing a little kalimba, he's playing some shakers, he's playing, I think he's got a tuned a rammer drum on there. He's got, I don't think on this track he has a log drum, but he's playing a lot of very, very different things, glitching it here and there. And then I added on that the first section, I added also the bass part, which was also played on touch guitar. So
Excellent.
Again, everything that I've added was on the touch guitar.
Okay. Let's talk briefly about the artwork on the album.
So the artwork is actually a picture I took in Amsterdam of the Museum of Maritime. I'm not exactly sure. It's a pretty long title for a museum, but the Dutch people are obviously were all about the sea, still are, and so
absolutely.
The whole museum is about that and their history, and it again works very well with the concept of the sailors and the traveling, going to different lands and not really knowing what you might find.
Okay.
And so inside actually has a picture of the constellation of the dog from NASA that is available to anyone. They have a gigantic library of beautiful pictures taken by the Hubble telescope in super high resolution, and you can use it.
And they're all like royalty free.
There's no royalty fees. Obviously, in the liner notes, I do mention where it's from because it's just amazing that that's actually available to anyone.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, and it's just amazing pictures.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. Yep, very nice. Well, the best of luck with this album and the best of luck with any future endeavours, and many thanks for coming back on Fade to Yellow and Co-op Radio.
Thanks. It's always awesome to be
here
with you.
Yeah, it's we're just old friends now, so it's just fantastic when you come along. Yeah, it's excellent.